trained to protect our comfort at all costs, not because it was comfortable, but because it kept us compliant and it kept us from causing trouble.
Which is wonderful. I want to expand and deepen white privilege. We are living at a time in which white people are losing social dominance day by day.
You're afraid of being marginalized, right?
Sure.
Welcome to what it feels like to be black.
You don't think white folks still dominating the world?
We do dominate the world to an extent. Look at the boards of directors of most corporations, tons of white people and Jews. Yes. But every day we hear, oh, isn't this great? There's more diversity in this corporation. Don't we need more people of color in films and movies? Isn't this wonderful? What is the trajectory? Where is the arrow pointing? The arrow is pointing away from white power. In my lifetime, what's going to probably happen is that I am going to become a minority in the United States. But what do I want for my great-grandchildren? I do want them to live in a white society, a European empire.
You don't consider yourself a racist?
I would never say something like, I don't like black people.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's not what I'm about.
But you don't want me in your neighborhood.
Right. I mean, I think the country is fragmenting because at the end of the day, racial differences cannot fundamentally be breached, ever.
What?
White people's biggest fear is happening in real time. Personally, I never knew a day like this will come. A day like white people are losing their privilege and everything. I never knew. I never knew I'll live to see white people crying because of economic issues, because of, a lot of things. And they thought power was something inheritable like blood, something coded into skin tone, something guaranteed by the universe. They believed privilege was eternal, not rented. They believed that everything in this world comes first to white person. But just look around right now. The ground beneath the old world is shaking. The old world is trembling. The old world is rumbling. The comfortable silence has broken, and the world they build upon the back of others, the world they build upon or on top of other people's blood, it is going down. And they are being forced to face the truth. Okay? What was stolen from Africans, what was stolen from black people, is eventually being taken back. Now, family, today I'm going to talk about the white privilege, how it is deteriorating, it is going down. I'm going to talk about how the world right now is crumbling on white people. I'm going to talk about how black people are rising up because it is something like that a lot of people never knew it will come to pass. Personally, I'm one of the people. And before I continue with that video, I just want you to watch these clips here. And these clips is for white people. Some of them are reacting on the economy. Some of them are calling out their own government. Some of them are saying, we never knew this is how black people always feel. Let's watch these clips and then I'll come back with the more commentary.
White folks, you got to change because within 30 years, you will be a numerical minority in the United States of America. And you had better pray to whoever you pray to or for, that people of color are not going to get even with us and treat us the way we have treated them. If you can't think of any other reason for treating people like equal human beings, think of that one. Because what you do today is creating the future. I don't think you want the kind of future that you have provided for people in the present. I may be mistaken.
You need to realize that white people do not live in the same reality that people of color do.
We think that because we have all these freedoms, everybody else has them too. That isn't the way it is, people. We are living in a society in which white people, how many of you people of color can leave when you get tired of racist behaviors directed toward you? How many of you can leave? Why not? There is no place to go in this country where there isn't racism. One has to be able to defend the behaviors of one's country. We cannot defend the behaviors of the United States of America if we do not change the level of racism in this country. Somebody has said the only thing necessary for the perpetuation of evil is for good people to do nothing. That's what happened in Portugal and Sweden during the Second World War. Good people did nothing.
They're saying that minorities will want to get even with white people once white people become a racial minority here in the United States. Here's the thing that white people don't understand. All non-white people want is to be left alone. So as the white population starts to go down and other populations start to rise, again, non-white communities want to be left alone. It's not about retribution. It's not about vengeance. All of that would have happened a long time ago. It's about leave me alone and let me live my life. But white people have this great fear of what not being in power will mean for them. And who are they? Who am I as a white person if I am not in power, if I am not the oppressor, if I am not the one making all of the rules, and having everyone do things my way? That's the fear.
Yesterday, I said that white people are groomed for comfort when it comes to the issue of race in America. I'm not saying that because we've been groomed, that should be an excuse for us to not get better information and learn how to be uncomfortable. The truth was always there, but we were trained to protect our comfort at all costs, not because it was comfortable, but because it kept us compliant and it kept us from causing trouble. We start with some cognitive dissonance. We were taught that we were good people in a good country. In fact, I remember vividly all the propaganda given in Oklahoma schools when I was growing up. Oklahoma is the greatest state. The United States is the greatest country. There's no country in the world as great as this. So when we see injustice, and we've been steeped in that message of how amazing we are, we can't reconcile it. We tell ourselves, well, if things aren't going so great for them, they must have done something wrong. We want there to be some blame, and we don't want that blame to come home to us. So as human beings, we move away from the hard stuff. If we look at our great country, and we know that we benefit from this great land of ours, but then we see that the country has a really strong undercurrent of racism, that means we have to admit that we benefit from that system of racism, and that makes us complicit. We get cultural reinforcement too, like schools skipped over a lot of the information, and it's getting worse with all this refusal to teach critical race theory. Churches edit the message through their take on scriptures. They say that if you're a slave, you should be a really good damn slave. And then media shows us white victims and black perpetrators, but we hardly ever see the plentiful cases where that script is flipped. So yeah, I admit, we knew. We did know. We did know. We just didn't want to feel what that knowing requires, and we didn't want to give up the comfort. And that's why we were groomed for comfort, because comfort is the hardest thing in the world to give up. By waking up, by becoming woke, we're being asked to give up our cozy mental beds where nothing bad happens and we never have bad dreams. We didn't want to feel what knowing was going to require of us. We didn't want the shame. We didn't want the grief. We didn't want to be held accountable. We sure as hell didn't want to take action. But we were groomed so that we wouldn't act on the problems. We were groomed for comfort so that we wouldn't do anything about the problems. So when I say that white people were groomed, I'm not making an excuse. I'm saying that we need to wake up. I'm describing a system of control. I'm saying, white people, you should be pissed off that you were groomed, and step out of your comfort and see what's going on outside your cozy bed. Comfort doesn't just make you passive. It makes you loyal to the thing that's killing someone else. If you're white and you're in the process of waking up, of becoming woke, that's so good. And brava, because it's so damn hard. But waking up is just the first step. We need to do more than just have sympathy for the people who haven't had the luxury of that comfort. We need a cultural rupture. We need accountability. We need white people who will make a break from comfort. So break out a little step at a time. One chair says you care about setting the record straight. Get curious.
The reason why you become silent, there's one that always comes up, and that's fear. White people are afraid of black people. They are afraid of us. And it's a very interesting thing because black people know it. We know white people are afraid, but you have to start getting into the psychology. What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid? But it's an interesting dynamic. Now, also you see the difference in what racism is, do you not? Racism implies you have not just prejudice, but the power to do something with that prejudice. Now, I don't like you, not only that, but I'm going to control whether you can get, I may say I hate you. I hate white people. I hate them. It's not going to change you getting that, loan when you go to the bank. I can hate you all the way to the bank. Not going to change. Do you see the difference? That whereas white racism says, not only do I not like you, but I'm going to change the impact of where you can live. I'm going to determine with that racism where your powers are. You following me? And I'm talking about as...
Welcome back. Now, for decades, for centuries, the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white dominance, the idea of white culture control or white global authority was treated as natural. And this idea was not earned, it was not deserved. It was just assumed. We just assumed that our white people lead us and we follow. Okay? So we decide to obey. I think I grew up or I was born and finding all this is happening. The idea of white people owning and black people borrowing, the idea of African living off loans and everything given by white people. So that was the narrative. And because it was repeated long enough, it was funded violently enough and embedded deeply enough in the system of education, religion, politics, and media. Now the world just began to accept it as truth. For example, black people, black children, we grew up knowing this is the reality. White people are always on the top. But truth does not disappear simply because someone buries it. Okay? Truth waits. Truth waits. Truth observes. Truth leans or lands. And then truth rises when the right time is here. And this is the right time. And now the fear has arrived. What the white people has been fearing for a very long time, it's happening in real time because they fear black people to come on the top. Because they think black people will revenge and etc. etc. Okay? You can hear in their speeches, you can hear in their podcast, you can hear them. They're creating videos in the political rallies, in you know, I'll say this. Even when you hear, when they talk about immigration, when they talk about birth rates, when they talk about South development, African unity, diaspora movement, and black consciousness spreading, they are talking about this fear. The fear. Okay? And for the first time in the modern Western history, white people are confronting something they were never prepared for psychologically, they were never prepared for emotionally, they were never prepared for spiritually. And this is the loss of automatic superiority. This is the loss of unchallenged culture power, the loss of an earned privilege, and most frightening for them is the realization that they are becoming the minority both demographically and in global influence. Okay? Speaking the truth, this will make you panic. Even if, even someone has been on politics for so long, maybe has been a governor for so long, and election comes and he realizes that he is losing, that's where the reality hits. Okay? So this panic, what you are seeing, the panic is not just about numbers. This panic is about identity. It's about meaning. It's about worldview collapse. And when you identify, or when your identity is built on being the default, or when your existence has always been framed as center stage, and then one day you identify that you are going to lose that identity, what happens? Next, it is fear, it is panic, it is chaos. Okay? And what happens when the people you oppressed no longer need your approval? No longer need your validation? Like black people, African, right now, we are not asking for permission. We are not asking for validation. We are not asking for approval or waiting for approval. We are not asking for permission to exist in power. There is a change that is happening, and this change is the rise of Africa, the rise of black people. A storm happens, a psychological storm, a political storm, a cultural storm, and we as black people, we are in that storm right now. But my good guys, here's the part that they cannot understand. Black rise is the white fall. Black rise is now the white fall. Okay? Our elevation, as I'm talking right now, it is not their distraction. Our freedom is not their punishment. Our unity is not anti anyone, but it is simply pro ourselves. Okay? Black advancement only threatens those who benefited from black suppression. And that's why you see people like Chinese, they are not afraid of the black awakening. They are not afraid of the rising of Africa. Because most of them, their country, they was never built on our suppression, was never built on lies against black people. So black advancement only threatens those who benefited from black suppression. Because if your existence depends on another group's oppression, then the equality feels like death. And that's what happened in South Africa. When apartheid ended, and then black South Africans were allowed to take part in political seats, to take part in economical choices, to take part in, things started went sour in white people, in white South Africans. Equality felt bitter. Equality felt like they have put inside more pepper, and white South Africans started tasting food feeling like it has a lot of salt because of equality. So, allow me to say, if your existence, if your power depends on another people oppression, another group's oppression, then equality feels like death. And that is the truth white system is wrestling with right now. That is the truth white people are wrestling with. The fear we are seeing is not about losing safety, is not about losing superiority, is not about justice. The fears, the tears are for privilege slipping through their fingers like sand. And you know what? They can no longer control this. They can't control what is happening. You'll get them still asking wrong questions. They panic about becoming the minority, not because minorities are treated poorly in principle, but because they know how minorities have been treated under their role. So they think when other group became majority, maybe they will pay back. Okay? Their fear is rooted in guilty. Their anxiety is built on conscience. They fear that others will do to them what they did to the world. Minister Louis Farrakhan once said that. Okay? But here's the brilliance. The beauty or the uniqueness of black people is that we do not rise by stepping on others. We do not rise by oppressing. We do not rise by, seeking domination. We as black people, we carry the legacy of survival. That's the reality. We carry the legacy of survivors, the legacy of builders, innovators, creators, name them, healers. And still understand that the fear is real and we must not ignore it. We must not downplay it because fear makes system dangerous. Fear makes government desperate, and fear turns privilege into something, aggression, let me call it. So when people believe that their importance is threatened, their identity attacked, their position is shaken, they lash out. Not because they are strong, but because they are afraid of what is coming to happen. And this is why you may see political movements calling to take the country back, bring America back to the people, And this is why you see hostility towards immigration, even when immigration build the economy, the immigrants build the economy of America. But you will see that the aggressive on immigrants, okay? This is why you see anger across, they go ahead and crying about the reverse racism. And they cry this about reverse racism just only whenever equality simply levels the field. Okay? Now, the irony is for centuries, black people were literally replaced. We were replaced in land. We are replaced in culture. We were replaced in narrative. We were replaced in value. Empires were built on removing us. Colonization replaced our systems. Slavery replaced our humanity with labor value. Media replaced our dignity. Our God was replaced. Education replaced our contribution with silence. They silenced our history. Religion itself replaced our identity, with guilty. Economies replaced our resources with poverty. And right now, what nature balances the scale, or when nature balances the scale, the same voices scream replacement. This is not injustice. What is happening is just history exhaling. The world is rebalancing itself, as I always say. So, as black people, we must talk about this moment with maturity, with wisdom, and with power. We must guide our people emotionally, because this shift is not just happening on TV, it is happening in real life. You can feel it in daily life if you are so much keen, We are seeing entitlement cracking. We see arrogance weakening. We see control fading. We see respect returning to African identity, African heritage, to African spirituality. We see white people making videos saying, you know what, I believe my ancestors were wrong. You don't believe that them. Black people are right. Black people are the chosen one. We see those videos. We see black youths are rising with consciousness. African diasporas are reconnecting. They are going back to motherland. Africans at home are rejecting puppetry, are rejecting inferiority politics. Black Americans are declaring that we are the foundation of Africa, of America, if I'm right, okay? And this rise, this awakening we are seeing, it is changing the psychological weather of the world, okay? This is why they panic when Africans talk about unity, okay? When Black Americans invest in Africa, they panic. When Africa demands sovereignty, they panic. When Black creators dominate Black culture or global culture, they panic. They panic even when Black entrepreneurs buy land. Why are they panicking? They are panicking because they fear the confident African. They are panicking because they fear educated youths. They fear united global Black family. They fear spiritually awakened Black mind. They fear self-aware Black American. They fear connected diaspora people. Because they know very well that unity is power. And power in Black hands means that the old world order cannot survive. And we are not watching an accident. We are watching a prophecy. We are watching cycles. We are watching history correcting itself. Okay? I have something to clear to my listeners. What you are seeing, or when you talk about this one is not about hatred. Okay? This is not about hatred. This is not hostility. It is not vengeance. This is truth. This is historical reality, and history is not emotional. History, it is inevitable. Okay? And our goal is not to replace anyone as Black people. Our goal is to restore ourselves. Our purpose is not to create a new system of oppression, but to build a world where dignity is not rationed by complexion or birthplace. We rise not for dominance, but we rise for balance. Okay? As I always say, Black people do not revenge. We are just here for restoration. Not because we hate anyone, but because we love ourselves. And if loving yourself threatens the world, then so be it. So let the panic happen. Let the cries echo. Let the commentation speak for the fear into microphones and everything. But you know, one thing for sure is that the truth is rising every day. Okay? And if the truth is rising, so are Black people rising. And you know, the fall of their empires begins and the panic is growing, because when a system begins to fall, it rarely announces it collapse with thunder, but it begins quietly. And what we are seeing right now is the beginning of the fall of the empires, the white empires, the European empires, slowly by slowly. And right now we can see the doubt is spreading in their places where arrogance once lived, because for generations the Western world walked with the stride of invisibility. Every institution projected preeminence. Every narrative suggested destiny. Every classroom told the world a single story that this is their world. They erased everything of Black people, and they erased and they wrote the story. They delete our identity. Okay? So the panic family did not come from nowhere. This panic came from recognition. A painful, inevitable recognition. Okay? It is very true. Their dominance was built on imbalance. And imbalance, eventually, one day, it always corrects itself. Okay? So, I'll say this. For centuries, they defined themselves by contrast. Civilized versus savage, advanced versus primitive, settler versus native, master versus slave. But so now, when the world says that we are all human and our time to rise has come, they do not hear equality. What they are hearing on their side is erasure. They don't see shared humanity. They see power sleeping. And that's why up to now, even white South Africans are still not in good terms with what is happening. Some of them are saying bring back segregation, blah, blah, blah. It's because this balancing equality, it is bitter to them. Okay? And this fear is not truly becoming minorities. The fear mostly is not about becoming minorities, but it's about becoming normal. Because when you become normal, you're being treated normally like other people. You go to the same school, you go to the same hospital, no better treatment than others. You are being treated equally. If you are going to line, you line equally. You know, I gave a story one time when I was young. We were seeing white people coming to our schools and we were like, God damn it, these are gods. Even when you meet a white kid, you're like, hey, pass. Because as a black person, you think you are less than. But things are changing. We are most educated. This generation is educated. Even Gen Z, white Gen Zs are educated and they are knowing the reality. They are seeing what's happening and they are getting first-hand information. They are not buying the old stories anymore. The old world is collapsing. Okay? I hope you're on the same page. That's the video I wanted to talk about today. White fear, they have been fearing for so long. It is happening. It is happening in real time and we are seeing it. Their world is falling apart. It's not because their world is falling apart. It's because they have lived all their life thinking they're better than others. So they did not plan psychologically for this day. They did not know that one day they'll be number 3, 4, 5, and 6. You know, a white person and a black person going to job opportunities, white people will think automatically, because I'm white, I must get this job, even when it's not on his country. So that privilege is going down. Down. Okay? So it is not hatred, but the world is rebalancing itself. And they need to know that for sure. The earlier they know, the better. Okay? So, I'll say this. Power built on artificial superiority will be always temporary. But power built on truth lasts. And our rise is not built on fantasy, but it is built on reality. It is built on history, on legacy, on resilience, on untold genius, on spiritual might and ancestral power. Our power is built on a foundation as deep so that no empire could erase it. Even when they attempted to bury us in lies, it never went through because black people are always the chosen people. Tell me what you think in the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.